So we're going to do two things today. First one is we're going to look at the sheet and basically understand the assignment, okay? So it is page 27, and I assume you read my instruction. Every assignment in the book has my instruction in it. We have all kinds of people teaching different classes, and in order to have some kind of uniformity, I try to help other instructors, and they can choose to follow those suggestions or not. So whenever you miss the class, it's there, and you can also make up. So we're going to also add some recordings. We will follow this introduction of going over the assignment with actual live recording of the drafting session. So let's have a look what we have. The page 27, I want you to take it out from the book and actually tape it to the board like this, meaning portrait. What is the content of the exercise? The content of the exercise, the actual content, is building perimeters. So imagine that you engineer. So we're trying today, after all the freehand exercises, we're trying to please engineers in the group, okay? We're actually drawing perimeters of the construction of the concrete foundation walls. And in your estimating class, you will be calculating volumes for how much concrete would be required to pour these foundations and slab when you know the height of the wall, the size of the footings, and the depth of the slab. Basic math, lots of tedious calculating volumes of how much concrete would have to be delivered to the site for these jobs. Footings, foundation walls, and floor. So what we have here for your estimating project is an outline of 3 buildings. So let's say it's our industrial site, Stelco de Pascargon, whoever owns the place now. They're going to build 3 warehouses. And we're not having the distances between these buildings. We're just having 3 buildings for calculation of the volumes and the dimensions. Okay, so this is not a site plan drawing. This is just a drawing of 3 rectangular shapes, really. And the biggest problem you're going to have is laying out this sheet so it fits. So there are a number of very important aspects of this project that we need to talk about in order to get this done. It looks like a very simple line exercise, but we've already worked on lines. You know that those dark lines on a drawing are going to be now pressed to turning pencil. But there's lots of preliminary instruction that I have to give you to accomplish this simple drawing, to accomplish it well. So number 1 will be laying out the sheet. How do we do this? Well, you're going to tape A0 size. I did have black and green. So I'm going to put them all here. So we're going to start with A2 size sheet. Number 1 thing, when you look at the drawing, we have a new concept. We have a title block on that sheet. The title block at Mohawk College, and it is an appendix at the very back, and in professional office, is placed at the bottom of the sheet or on the right side of the sheet. Your project may have 200 sheets, and it could be A0 size in a construction trailer, piled like this, laying on a reference table. So the drawing number always has to be here. So architects will say A1, A2, A5-55. There could be 180, 200 drawings. And when they're laying in a construction trailer and there's a phone call about an issue, correction that needs to be made, you want to quickly find the drawing number and lift all of this heavy part. Okay? For that reason, you will always lose points if you don't lay the drawing out. So dimensions are above. So dimensions are to the left, and the drawing number is here. That's how drawing needs to be laid out. So if you today take the sheet of paper and you place it vertically, and you try to copy things, you will be confused. So the number 1 issue is you want to tape my handout, which, by the way, is a drafted by AutoCAD handout. Easy. In real life, you will get a messy sketch. If it's my sketch, you will not be able to make sense out of it, although I'm teaching you freehand sketching. So the engineer sketches will be squiggly, fast, not to scale, and your job will be to draw it up. So the first thing you need to do is have the reference sketch. Then we're going to take our sheet, and we now know how, except the difficulty that I mentioned in last week's presentation is that today we have to make a title block. And for the purpose of this exercise, I want you to draw a little mark, like we did last week, a little line blip 10 millimeters apart. 10 millimeters, 10 millimeters, and then 20 or 15, whatever the reference in the back is. We leave more on the left-hand side, opposite to the drawing number, because again, in construction trailer, there would be a special rack for these blueprints and drawings. And it's like, you know how you have clips for your pants? Those of you who are organized, you have like a rack that hangs the pants or your skirts. There is actually a threaded bar, metal bar, aluminum bar, where thread opens up. You put all your drawings in, and then you tighten them up, and they hold all of the 200 sheets or 50 sheets or 10 sheets together. And they hang on a rack vertically, so they are not curling up. So what we do is we always leave more room on this side. So it could be stapled, bound, coiled, or whatever. Okay, so we're going to measure the 10 millimeters, 10 millimeters, and 10 millimeters, and that will be the start of our drawing. The reason why I'm mentioning the problem with the tape is that if you place the tape generously over this corner, you will not be able to draw the border lines. So there is a fine line between how much we tape. So you gotta, if you make the border 15 millimeters because of this, I don't mind. So what we're going to do is, let's talk now about another thing I want you to start doing. We're going to draw a line, and the line that I drew black here, it should be a light construction line going through the measure point. So it's a very light construction line going almost right through. Now you have a measure point and measure point. You can now take your pencil and apply really hard, because you've got, like last week, you have a measure point and you know where to start and end your line. So just like last week, we're going to align our T-square with this point and draw a dark line from a light construction line. Dark now, dark, 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 stop here. We're going to do the same thing at the bottom. We don't need the construction line. I'm already showing you the speed up process. Speed up process is you don't need 4 construction lines. You need 2 and a measure mark. Let's go over this. To draw a rectangular box, which you will be doing a lot. If you need to draw a line going through this point, and you know you've measured that it has to go to here and here, and you have a measure point, and you need to draw a rectangle. It's 2 light construction lines that you measured, 2 light construction lines, 2 measure points, and then dark line, dark line. Do we know where to finish the box? We can make absolutely perfect corner by going exactly from here to here. And that's the only way to get all of the corners in this assignment perfect. Okay? 4 measure points for your square. 2 light construction lines. I always go vertically. You can go horizontally, do it the other way around. 2 measure points, 2 construction lines. Then you have start and end. Start and end. Then finish over construction lines. Construction lines need to be very, very light, because your measure points and your construction lines are very light. So when you draw dark lines, the shadows of the construction lines are not messing up your line. If you draw construction lines dark, you will get that double line that we said we never do, because they create a shadow. Lots of you last week have tried this range. I suspect many of you did not change the lead. There were lots of assignments very smudged. I suspect you worked with HB, which is no-no. Do yourself a favor. This assignment, I think, is 20%. You're going to spend 2 or 3 weeks on it. Apply at least the right pencil. So we're going to work with H. If you already know that you have sweaty hands and you're really messy and you press really hard and smudge, use 2H. But not HB. HB is an absolute no-no for this. HB is freehand notes, okay? Okay, so this is your instruction from now on for the rest of the semester. This is how you should be drawing boxes. If you don't do that, you will be fudging the squares. You will be getting corners like this, and a whole bunch of other inventions that you always surprise me with. So that's the only way to do it right. So that's what we're going to use for our title block, and we're going to finish with the dark line, the green line on my board. I can't do line weights on a drafting board, okay? Oh, I didn't have this one yet, so let's talk about it. I didn't have this one yet, so where do I finish? I don't know, okay? So I should have drawn horizontal and horizontal first in order to get it right on. So now, this will be imperfect corner. So although I talk about it, you're daydreaming, you're thinking about your weekend, your Thanksgiving trip home. You're going to give me corners like this. You're going to give me worse. You're going to give me one corner like this, and then you're going to give me like this, and then you're going to come back and try to finish it off and give me this. I've seen it all. Try this. 4 points, and there are tiny little lines, very light lines, not dots. I call them blips. Many of you, although I did say, measure like I did here. Draw light line. Many of you last week started off doing this. If you draw a line through this, it will always look like I call it blip. If you know a better word, let me know. We call it blip on a computer too. Okay, if you have a line, you will draw over it. It won't be seen. So that's the most important thing for how your drawing is going to turn out in the end. But there's many other things. The next big job about layout is, well, where do I start? You know, doing this assignment for many, many years, you always drive me nuts because you can't start. Just start, okay? Just start here. Let's say I'm going to start here. What is here? Miss Goede, what is this? You're going to come to example and measure. All right, make it 30 millimeters. Okay? Make it like 1 inch. Okay, 1.5 inch. But this is going to be now on tape, and you're going to actually measure 30 millimeters. No, just start. Okay? Let's take this dimension off. Because it doesn't matter. What matters is you got to start somewhere and keep going. So to keep going, now that I have 2 construction lines, these lines can be changed. They're light. If I mess up, I will move this point. So now we have a start, and we're going to lay out the dimensions that I gave you. I have to check, what do I say in the instruction, 200 or 100 scale?
1 to 100.
1 to 100 on A2 size sheet. If you're not careful with layout, you will not fit everything in. So instruction number 2, ladies and gentlemen, is taking the dimension now. If you're not good with the math, adding up, take your calculator out. What we need to do is measure out the point that's 10 to 50 using 1 to 100 scale. And then you're going to ask me, what is the dimension between the next building? It's a layout. You place it where you want it. Start the next one somewhere. Should I write here? Up to you. And then you're going to measure 13, 19, 50. And then you're going to measure 8, 150 and see where you fall. And then your job is to look around at everything else that's happening on the outside of the building. We will have some dimensions. So if you do this wrong, if you do this, and your last marking is here, you will not have room for dimensions. You haven't done anything yet. You don't even have to erase like I'm doing, because I don't have an option of drawing line. The line is there. Just measure these points in the different spots and don't get confused. How do we don't get confused? Quickly draw a line through the points that you need. Now we have construction lines that lay out the beginning of first 2 structures. And I have room on both sides to throw in dimensions. Maybe you didn't leave yourself enough room for that 1 dimension on the left-hand side. If you haven't, Don't sweat it, just draw 2 lines. And hey, use this as a dimension line in the future. Time is precious. Okay? So the building is laid out this way. Now we gotta go the other way. I'm going to take it again, 1050. So the first one starts with the square. 10 to 50. And look at this. The other building is also 10 to 50. What does that tell me? It's there for a reason. So you don't stop short. Keep going. If this building is also 10 to 50, this construction line will be ready for you. Yes? Now, part of the layout. Please, again, don't ask me what that dimension is. Okay? Part of the layout. I think it's recording. It's just kicked me out. The screensaver. Okay, so part of the layout is deciding what this dimension and this dimension is. So I'm going to start the line here and go the other way. I'm going to take 1,000 and 2,500 and measure these points. And then there is a little dimension here that you have to pay attention because there is a jog on this side of this building. And I'm not getting right proportions, but I'm getting a whole bunch of construction lines, light construction lines, that at this point can be changed and maneuvered to give me the perfection. So that's what we will be referring to as a layout. And the evaluation sheet that I showed you last week, okay, has 10% of your mark for just layout. And it's very important because on real job, if you mess this up, you will have to start again. And hand drafting is very difficult. That's the difficulty of hand drafting. So in the real office, you would get messy sketch. You would have to run to engineer back and forth to clarify dimensions that you can't read, make the sense out of a messy sketch, make it to scale, and lay it out on a sheet. And in real life, you will be deciding what scale. Most likely you will be given standard sheet, pre-printed sheet in the office, but you will be deciding on scale. So we're going to get started with this, but there's one more very important thing about layout. Before we even get to this point, notice that we have a title block that I haven't allowed for. Now, wouldn't that be a big mess? So before we even do this, we have to allow standard title block line. And if you don't do it on the right-hand side today, I will allow you for future to have title block at the bottom or right-hand side. But I purposely picked the tight layout so you practice layout. And the only way this sheet is going to work if you do this title block vertically. That's the only way the things fit perfect. So that means that our drawing number is going to be at the bottom. We're going to look at the drawing this way. Our title block, as shown on your assignment, is going to be facing this way. It's going to have A1, it's going to have a whole bunch of other information. It's going to have a circle and a beautiful signature in here. And we're going to talk about this title block. There'll be another exercise, another instruction where I'll talk just about title block. Today, I just want you to copy, but copy intelligently. Because you have to give me your name, not my name. You have to put down the correct scale. So under scale, we will say 1 to 100. Are you sure it's 1 to 100, not 200? We'll have to verify this, okay? I will verify this when I'm drawing. It's very quickly done. So when I'm doing the video instruction on drawing, we will verify that this is the right scale. So BCS is the design office. Building Construction Sciences Department, Mohawk College is the design office. We have scale of the drawing. We have date. That's a standard thing that goes into title block. We have class. You can just there say Wednesday or WED. So I know when I look through the drawings where they belong to. Okay. Name, your last name. Maybe first initial, that last name. Please, last name is what I need. Especially those of you who have, you know, like Peter George. I don't know which one is last name, first name. We all come from different countries, and sometimes I can't tell. Please help me evaluate your work. And whatever you are in the system, your last name, if you have 5 different names, please give me your last name that I see in the system. And then the other part of the title block is the square that you see is where engineers or architects would stamp the drawing. We used to have, and we still have in the old drafting print setup, we had building construction sciences stamp. But it's dated now, we don't do the blueprinting anymore. So right now, what I'm asking you to do is to use your circle template and draw a circle, make your drawing look fantastic, and just squiggle your fancy signature there, as if you were an engineer taking responsibility for your work. But I can't find out who you are with your squiggly squiggly signature. So make sure here you print your name clearly. The project number, Winter 04, obviously we're not going to write Winter 04, we're going to have F15. So the project number, let's write it here. Project number will always be fall for you. You're 14, and this is project number 1. But different offices will have different setups, okay? So we'll start with that. And then there is more to it, because you will be on your own. So we'll grab a coffee, we get started, and then I'll talk to you about what you should be doing next week. Today, if you get this done, layout, and get started, we're doing good. If you do the title block, we're doing good. Just print capital letters, do the neatest job you can. Many of you have tried last week. We need to talk about hatch. You know now how to do the lines. We need to talk about hatch. The lettering guide offsets 3 millimeters. This exercise is full of surprises.
No matter how we write the title block.
50 millimeters, thank you. 50 millimeters is Mohawk College standard. And then the last is the hatch. So I'll show you how to use lettering guide. If you haven't bought it yet, this exercise screams for it. If you don't have lettering guide, you will have to measure 3 millimeters apart or eyeball. But I will show you the trick how to use your lettering guide and draw these hatch lines. They're good practice. We use hatching a lot. And then there's dimensioning and the arrows. So I do need to talk about this exercise more in order for you to continue next week, okay? But I think I am limited here, so we're going to stop and then continue and have more fun with it, okay? Thank you. So let's have a little break. Do you have general questions that are stopping us from doing it?